God, please just come into this space. I've been struggling. I really need you right now. I really need you right now.
I heard from God. I heard from God.
God is always trying to communicate with us. It's about if we're willing to communicate back, we're willing to see the signs that He's trying to give to us.
Because I'm not competing with God. I'm not competing with God.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sacred Sports Souls podcast. This is the first one we're doing virtually, so bear with me if anything turns out weird. I don't know, sometimes our Wi-Fi is kind of bad here, but I am here with I'll actually start by saying one of my good friends, and also she just happens to be the AVCA National Player of the Year, first team All-American, Northeast Region Player of the Year. I'm just like reading off this list right here. 2023 Big Ten Player of the Year, 2023 first team All Big Ten. And then there's some other like little minor ones, like Big Ten Freshman of the Week when I was your teammate, and then some other Big Ten Player of the Weeks and some other awards. But I want to first and foremost just welcome you, Sarah, to my podcast. Thanks for coming on here with me.
Thanks, TT. Thanks for having me. I'm absolutely honored.
Yeah, I literally I got this idea. So as you guys know, like I'm pretty new to like podcasting in general, and I got the idea because I was in the car with Elijah, and he goes, your friend that the one that's really good at volleyball, the one that just got National Player of the Year. He's like, maybe you should ask her to be on your podcast. And I was like, that's kind of a great idea. So that's what boyfriends are for.
Oh yeah, you just need it for the good ideas.
Yeah. So I keep them around. But yeah, a lot of people, I see a lot of your conversations and a lot of the interviews that you've had, and I think it's so funny because yes, obviously you are at Wisconsin now. But you started first at good old Michigan State in East Lansing, and
Oh yeah.
I would love for you just to describe what your time was like there, because that's when obviously we were teammates, and I think were we teammates for 2 years? I think we were teammates for
I think it was 2 years. Yeah, I think it was 2 years
years.
because it was both of us left at the same time. You left in the fall, and I left in this after the spring.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, describe your just Michigan, the team while we were there, like I don't even know, just some of the stuff, the comparison to how it is at Wisconsin. Either any of those routes, you're welcome to.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways to go just because that time was COVID.
Yes.
Graduated 2020, went right into college in the midst of COVID. Just that craziness, I think, really kind of set apart what the first couple years of college were going to look like. And I'm very grateful for it because it kind of allowed me to almost like relax a little bit. Like I wasn't so like stressed about volleyball because we were there from June until December and we didn't even play. We were just
Nope.
there, college fun, good times, which I thought was really cool. And then you get into the next year and it's 2 seasons in 1 year, which was a lot. But I feel like there was so many things that I learned just from the first year of being with all of you guys and with a whole bunch of new girls in a new area and in the cold. Still don't like the cold, but there's so many things that I look back on now and I'm like, wow, I can't believe that I went through all of that at Michigan State and got to experience what an amazing time like colleges at two different places, which I'm very grateful for. And I think there was a lot of experiences that I don't think I would have gotten if I had, gone somewhere else. And I'm still so close with all of you guys. Like I still, reach out and hear from you guys about everything. And so it was a really fun time. Like there's no other way to describe it because there's so many things that were happening all at the same time, but then there weren't because it was just us in an apartment hanging out because there was nothing else to do. There's no one else on campus. And so I think COVID really set that apart and made it so much more memorable. I was talking with some of my teammates about it a couple days ago, and I was like, I can't believe that COVID like even happened in that way.
Dude.
And we were in college in that first year, and it's like we don't remember
Yeah.
why we were just sitting in the apartment trying to figure out what things to do because there was nothing to do. So there's just so many things.
And I think you make such a great point because like COVID is like this, especially COVID in college and it being your first year and like all of these things. It's like a fever dream almost. Like I look back and I'm like, I can't believe that happened. And to give a little context to like our team, yeah, like we were for like our volleyball, we took it seriously. It just was, being in the Big Ten, as you know now, being at the top of the Big Ten, it's a very challenging. Every single day is a grind. It is a grind. But we were definitely in that era of, and we were a young team and kind of figuring out. And that's back when Frank was baby Frank. Back in those days. But no,
I was just happy to be there. Just happy
literally
to be there.
happy to be there, just happy to be in college, even though you're right. Like I forget how unusual of a first year of college that had to have been for you. Because like us, we had been there for at least we had like 1.5 like regular college years in a way. But when I tell you like to describe that team and to put that team into context, we would like the stuff we were getting in trouble for during COVID was because we all wanted to see each other and like wanted to hang out with each
Wanted
other.
to be around each other, and we couldn't. We were in pods.
And we
You four,
couldn't.
you four, you four. And I was like,
We would literally
I just can't see
practice
my
like in pods where we would all be in like say we were all in Brez and like some people would be practicing at the net, some people would be on the side with no net, and then some people would be in the weight room and then we'd do a little
rotate, and you gotta clean stuff before you
yeah, oh
go.
my gosh.
Wave
And so
across. Hey guys.
hey guys, how's your 4-person practice going over there? Like what? But that team, and those teams while we were there were definitely something that I look back on as just a special time because you're right, we got to bond more as people than just volleyball players.
Oh, for sure.
And I think that also one thing that I remember about Frank when you first came in, I think maybe it was me and Gibbs who were talking. But it was like maybe a couple open gyms in and we were just talking. She was like, Frank just has this like competitive fire about her. Like this, like you were a freshman, but you didn't act that way. You didn't play that way. You obviously freshman year, you have some things to grow and work in. We all know that, but you carried yourself a little bit differently. And part of our conversation was like, why didn't she go somewhere bigger than Michigan State? And not that Michigan State's by any means like a small school, but yeah, so I don't know. What was your kind of like out of high school? Because you're from Florida. What kind of was your recruiting process like, and how did that come about?
Yeah, I wasn't as highly recruited as people would have thought out of high school. There was a lot of coaches that were 100% reaching out to me, and I wanted to go very big. I wanted to go Big Ten. I wanted to be in that scene because I knew it was so good.
Yeah.
And the only really offers that I got were Michigan State and Illinois. I don't think there were any, I'd seen the Minnesota coaches at tournaments, and I was like,
hey.
over here. But they didn't really know who I was, and I was emailing, but I think they already had their class kind of set.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, Michigan State, that's still pretty good. Like I got this offer, like I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna do it. And I just really, really enjoyed that decision. And I think I kind of mess with Kelly now being here. I'm like, you didn't even know who I was in high school.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. So you're like, yeah, no. And it's like, okay, well, it's all part of the process, It's
He's like, well, you're here now. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, but it took me an extra 2 years.
I think that's because as you're right, like with all of these accolades that you've now worked extremely hard for. Let's not act like you haven't grinded your butt off to get to where you are. But with all these accolades, it's like, oh yeah, she had to have been like a top 10 recruit out of high school, and you're over here like, yeah, no, I was like on the other courts, like, hey, I'm over here.
Please. Which I think was a great route for me to go because in the big picture of things, being somewhere where you could play 6 rotations freshman year, get that in your system and just be able to go and do it
Yeah.
and not have to like really fight and be worried about that. Like I was playing to play because I was like, this is just
Yes.
fun, you know?
Yeah. That's
So
and
being
that
able to have that
so
2 years was really, really good, I think, for my developmental career too, as a 6 rotation outside for sure.
you also came in being able to pass better than like most of the 6'5" like freaking outsides that I had seen, and that's also me and Gibbs. Oh, I miss Gibbs. We would just be so Gibbs was my like co DS during those years. I don't know if that's like to describe, and she's one of my best friends literally to this day. But we would just be in the back and we're like, I how does she pass so well? Like you're just so long, and we're also jealous because we're short, and you literally just like yes, arm just like this is my ball. This is my ball. Like okay, we're gonna let you take all the balls.
And like, it's not like I did an insane amount of like passing work in high school. There was not much to it. And so
Yeah.
I just thought everyone was like,
Yeah.
dude, like, let's just go pass. Yay. Because I was a middle in club,
Oh my
but I
gosh.
played some outside, but I was a middle that played 6 rotations. So I passed 2-man for 3 rotations, sometimes all 6 as a middle.
As a
And then I would
middle.
go into them as a, I'd go and hit in the middle, and I'd go and hit on the back row as a 2 passer. And like we were pretty good. Like
Yeah.
we got an open bid. We won a couple like open tournament sunshine
Yeah.
qualifier, like a couple of those. We won AAUs our 16th year up in 17. So like we were pretty good. But looking back, I watched some videos because I had sent some to our coach Britt, and I was like, wow, I was doing a lot more than like I thought. I was like, no, this is just normal. No.
That's not at all a middle at all passing. And then just that's I think that's so telling. It's crazy because I bet a lot of people also to know that you were freaking 6 rotation passing middle, but it makes sense now, like looking back and seeing as like if you were a middle who was specialized like as a middle, there's no way that that transition to college would have been kind of as seamless as it was. Because that's unheard of. I don't know if I've seen very many middles that you know what? You know what is so crazy? Amber is probably one of the best passing middles I've seen. And
Oh,
she even like she has had to develop that over college, but it's just so funny to because I remember also a couple times, I don't know what it was for, like why you had to play middle at practice. But I just remember you playing middle and it was you're like, oh gosh, like going back to my roots.
every time. I mean, I jumped in the middle hitting lines in practice the other
Yep.
day. And I was like, wow, this is weird. This is a long
Yeah.
time coming.
Yeah, no, seriously. So I also, as we kind of transition to this next topic, it's so crazy too because you were you got, like I said, Big Ten Freshman of the Week, like our first, so that this was during our COVID season.
Mhm.
And then so everyone was like, oh my, everyone was like, you came out and people were like, wow, Sarah Franklin, like this girl is good. And we're like, yeah, we know. And then you people were like, she could be Big Ten Freshman of the Year. And then what happens, Frank?
I had a lovely practice. I was playing so hard, and we were doing, I don't even remember what the drill was called. It was like the 3-person drill, and a ball goes off the court, and I'm running and I'm looking up at it. And I'm like, I'm getting this ball because we had just gotten yelled at for effort or something.
Effort,
And so I
yeah.
was like, I ain't gonna get yelled at for effort. So I go and I'm looking up at this ball and I put my platform out. Ref stand is right in front of me. So I basically punch the ref stand and get it like in between my fingers, like in between my first and my middle finger, and completely dislocate it at the knuckle, like completely popped it out. And I was like, oh, I'm good. And I walked right back into the drill and like passed the next 2 balls. And then I'm like,
She's
why
like,
can't I like close my hand? Like it won't, like my middle finger's like to the side. I'm like, I'm trying to pass and I'm like, something's feeling weird. And then I look at it and my middle finger is like over my ring
oh
finger. And I'm
my
like,
gosh.
that doesn't look right. So I like walk off the court and Lauren Swartz was
Mm.
like, are you okay? And I'm like, I think so. And I walk over to Kelly Moriarty, our athletic trainer. I'm like, hey, can you pop this back in? And she's like, oh my gosh, is it hurting? I'm like, not really. Like, it's like fine. And so it takes her like a couple minutes to pop it back in. She's like, let's, sit down. I'm like, can I go back to practice now? And she's like, no, we're going for an x-ray, sweetie. And I
No.
ended up fracturing my metatarsal, I think it's called, in like 4 places and chipping the knuckle. And I was out for the rest of the season. And I think that was 7 games in, 8
Yeah,
games, one
probably
of those
about
2.
that very
So everyone was like,
early.
damn, this girl's pretty good going. And then that happens. I'm like, great. It was actually the day before we played Wisconsin. So we played
Wow.
Michigan Wednesday, I think it
Yeah.
was. We practiced Thursday and we were gonna play Friday, Saturday, I
Oh my gosh,
believe.
you're right.
And so Thursday practice is when this happened. I was so upset because I was so excited to play Wisconsin because Wisconsin's obviously really good. And so I was like, yes, like let's go. And that happened, bawling my eyes out, the whole shebang. And this memory of mine is like a something that I think about very often about Brit, because we go and we do serve and pass and we're all, out there, and I'd gotten yelled at for just sitting on the sideline and telling the Wisconsin people that I have a broken hitting hand, so I'm obviously not playing because they're going to scout other people. And so I'm sitting on the sideline, and after they finish their serve and pass, Britt comes up to me and is like, hey, like, super sorry, we're really excited to play for you, play against you. And I was like so honored at that
No,
point to
yeah.
have Brittany like come up to me and say that to me. And I was like, thank you. Like, oh my God.
Wow.
And that just goes to show like the type of people that Wisconsin has here, with how much they really care about like everybody, and just seeing good volleyball and respecting that.
Yeah.
And so that was, another reason why I was like, Wisconsin would be kind of cool, because I
That's
miss doing
amazing.
that.
That's amazing. It's just so crazy too, because like at the time, you were obviously really like, you're like, why? Like why? Like this, you were doing so well, and it really was like, we're obviously, I'm not making this up. Like everyone's like, she's probably gonna be the freshman of the year. And it just is like, then you go and do something like that on an effort play, like, and it was crazy because you didn't like for how severe your injury was, like your reaction was just like, oh, she's like, yeah, I like it hurts, I guess. Like,
I think
I
maybe
think you're like, I
I
don't even know.
could.
Your adrenaline must have just been like going.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I was up and running.
But it's so crazy to like look back on your career now that you're going into what this will be your, is it your, this is making your 6th year or your 5th year with your COVID year this year?
5th.
Okay.
Yeah, 5th, because I'm a senior right now, like a
Okay.
senior.
So
Yeah. And
going
I just got all of the notifications of 3 years ago. That is when that happened, I
oh my
believe.
gosh, you're right. Yeah.
Because it was right before my birthday. It's right before my
Yeah.
birthday.
Oh, that was also.
I was turning 19.
We
I
threw
just
you
broken
a
my hand. We
little.
were in quarantine for COVID, and I had got COVID that week too.
That yeah. Oh, that was also weak.
That was that time. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a time when like literally the entire team got COVID, the whole thing. But
Well, the entire Big Ten got COVID.
yeah, and that's oh my gosh, COVID. Oh geez, I like can't even think back to that without being like minorly stressed out. But it's crazy because now you're going into your last year, and now you can look back on your career, and you have like some solid memories to look back on as like, okay, that like really shaped me, or like even this memory that you have that could have seemed so irrelevant, like until now you're kind of seeing your career unfold, and I think that that's just so amazing. I love that our lives and things that just like these all these little seemingly coincidences, and then it's like, okay, no, this is actually all meant
Builds, yeah.
something greater. And so in that, like, you kind of just spoke on it a little bit of like why you ended up at Wisconsin. So you transferred obviously from Michigan State to Wisconsin. That what was that, spring of 22?
Yeah, spring of 22. And then
Yeah.
I got there in the summer of 22.
So
Yeah.
when did you enter the portal, and then also, kind of what were you looking for when you were going into it, and what was that process like?
Yeah, so I had been, after that 2021 season, I was kind of thinking about the portal because I was like, I feel like I could get something a little bit more out of myself.
Yeah.
And I had been toying with it since like November. I think it was November,
Mhm.
December, and January came around, and we had started the semester, and a lot of the girls were already in the portal, and so I was like, who's going to be on the team? Are the freshmen going to come in good? All the questions. And so I decided at the end of January that I was like, okay, I'm gonna just get in the portal and see what happens. And that was the whole time that Kathy was also
Oh yeah,
retired.
yeah, yeah.
And so I get in the portal, and I just wanted to go somewhere that was really going to challenge me. I wanted to go somewhere where I was not going to be the best person on the court, because
Mm-hmm.
want I want to get better. I
Yeah.
want to do something that's really going to push the limits of what I can do, because I just think that's fun. Just being in that environment is just fun. And so I was looking for something that was going to be really good culturally, it was going to fit in with what I wanted, and just put their head down and work.
Yeah.
So when I got in the portal, I had looked at, a lot of Big Ten teams, some teams outside of there, but I kind of wanted to stay in the Big Ten. I was
Yeah.
like, this is just such a cool conference. Like,
There's
you can
something
have
about it.
something about it. I'm just like, the Big Ten just the best. So I was like, okay, we got, Wisconsin on the radar, and I looked at Purdue as well. And I think those are the only two Big Ten schools. I talked to Pitt, Kentucky, a whole bunch of others. I didn't really want to go out to California. That wasn't as intriguing for me.
Yeah.
And I, take a visit. I get in the portal. I think it was like Monday, and I'm at Wisconsin by Wednesday. Like, I flew out
Wow.
within like 2 days. I was at Wisconsin from Wednesday to Friday, and then straight to
I
Purdue
remember
from
that.
Friday to Sunday.
Yeah.
So it was like really, really quick, because they wanted to get me out there. And I had just kind of fell in love with Madison, with
Mm.
Wisconsin, with the girls, with the coach. And I really loved the way that they described everything. They was
Mhm.
like, this is a blue collar team, one that'll just outwork everybody. And one that's, we're not going to promise anything to you. You come here and you're in your spot. And I had really, really liked that, because I
Yeah.
don't want anything just handed to me. It's not fun. Like, I want to be able to put in the work and say that I did all this, and I can look back at all this and say that I did that, because it's really cool to see
Yeah.
how far you can push yourself in that, because you always do a little more than you expect.
Mhm.
So that was kind of the main reason. And obviously, when Brett came up to me when I was still at Michigan State, I was like, she's definitely pulling there. And I think,
Yeah.
there might have been some pre
Yeah.
pre
Yeah.
even getting in the transfer portal that they were working as well, because
Mm.
it could have probably guessed that I would possibly do that, and it worked out well.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's so I love that because you're right. And that's what I really want, this not only this podcast to be about, but the part about, sports and this like mentality that it's built for you it's really just ingrained in who you are. And that's one of what you're speaking to about just wanting, you're like, I just want somewhere to go that I can push myself, that I can see how good I can really be. And it's just so cool to see where that's kind of gotten you, just in terms of like, yeah, you can kind of measure it by the accolades and the things like that. And I think that that's something worth celebrating, because it's amazing, and not everybody can do these things. And it's cool to see that you're like, I still want more. Like, I still feel like, you, not only you, but you and your team can shoot for more and actually attain that. And that's why I'm excited to see you guys this upcoming year. I know that that's going to be something that you're like, I'm afraid for the people, the other people around you, because I know you, and I know this, like, you just have this like killer mentality. Um and yeah, and you always have. And your time at Michigan State ironically was more being like teammates, Frank.
Okay, be nice. It's okay. We don't have to, not everything has to be about winning. Okay. It's funny, because when I got here, I took the DIS report, right?
Mm.
DISC. I took that report,
Oh
and I
geez.
was still at Michigan State, I believe, at the time that I had like taken it, because I had
Yeah.
taken it in the spring and I got there in the summer.
Yeah.
And so I took the report, and I was a high S, high I. I think those are my two.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, like cool. We go through the season, and my competitive nature, I'm
There's
finally
like
able to
I'm
like,
sorry, there's absolutely no way you're a high as high.
hold on, hold on. So we go through this season, and everyone is like, Frank's really competitive, like all this. And because I'm finally able to just like be that because I can ask that of people
Yes.
and
Yeah.
people will respond to that. And so after the season, we're all kind of talking about this, whatever. And I reached out to Kelly. I said, hey, maybe I should retake the disc test to see if possibly that kind of has changed or evolved from where I was when I first got here. So I retook it in the spring of 23,
Yep.
and I ended up being a really high D.
Yeah, so the we all it's crazy. So the DISC is like a personality test, I guess, and so the D is like the dominant, and then I is influence, S is I think steadiness, and then
Study,
C, yeah, and then C is
compliance, or
yes.
calculating,
This one says cautious. This one's cautious.
cautious. Okay,
But
yeah.
it's so crazy, yeah, because when we took it at Michigan State, maybe this was before you got there, but like we had a lot of like Kathy, our coach, was a D, like a very Jamie was a D,
Yep.
Naya was a D, and
Oh yeah.
so when you came in, I was like, this, yeah, you have just a very dominant personality about you, and that's like I think there is obviously a balance, but also I'm glad that you got to go into an environment that was like just let you be you, and like they praised you for that and they appreciated and valued you for that, because like without that part of Sarah Franklin, like there literally is no Sarah Franklin. So
Yeah. I continue to do a lot of work on that to be able to best have that
yes.
suited for the team atmosphere. So we're continuing to work on that, but I think it's really cool of having that and being able to kind of fiddle and tinker with that to be able to like really solidify it out and smooth it out and be like, this is what's going to be best,
Yeah, and that's perfectly also speaking to kind of like how you've evolved into a more leadership role, and I think that that's also amazing, because when you were a freshman you were more of a like no one really expects anything out of freshmen in terms of leadership, because it's like, okay, yes, you are really good ability wise, and like you can go be that, but I think the extra added pressure of leadership can be a little too much sometimes, but you do eventually grow into it, and that's what it's been like, or seemingly been like for you. And I also, when I was at Michigan State, was kind of on a leadership journey, because I would have never thought I would have been a captain. Like that also still like blows my
Can't see,
mind.
that is exactly like when I think of you as like that leader that like was able to like get the team together and like do all of that. So that's funny that you say that because like I've always seen you as like that role. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I appreciate that, because that also was, I was learning and during that time, but it also comes a little naturally, like the vocal kind of
Mhm.
leadership. And we talk about that with my teammates here now, but it's just really cool to now see you evolve, because I feel like as a leader, like I know that I did a good job when I can see now these, like you guys all mature, and just seeing like even Celia and Emma and like
Yeah.
going on to all of these. Also, yeah, our Michigan State team was literally just stacked. Like you, it's
Oh my God.
crazy to see that part too. But all of you guys grow into these like mature volleyball players who are very much leaders of their team. So describe kind of that process of now that you're going into your last year, just how you lead, and how you feel like you want to lead.
There's a lot of learning when it comes to that. I have never again thought of myself as like a leader. I'm just like I'm doing what I'm doing. You guys doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's coming to a point where I'm like, okay, I feel very secure in like knowing what I can do. And I'm feeling this like I want to be able to be the best and be able to get the best out of everyone that's around
Yes.
me.
Yeah.
So I just have this like want to be able to do that. So I'm in Kelly's office like once a week, talking to Britt at least twice a week, like asking all of these questions because I'm like really thinking and trying to wrap my head around what will work best for my kind of leadership style because
Yes.
everyone leads differently. There's so many things. It's not like
Yes.
you can just, oh, this is how this person, so I'm going to do it that. It's like you got to kind of figure it out and do that area yourself, which I think is really fun. Like again, it's another challenge. It's another thing that I get to figure out.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like what's next? I'm getting better at this and I'm gonna continue, but like what can I do else in like
Yeah.
this area? And there's so many things. So I feel like it's just it's almost like satisfying to
Yeah.
know that like, that's kind of where everything's headed. And it's a lot of fun to work with these girls through it too, because each one of them are also great leaders. And I think
Yeah.
that's just who Kelly kind of recruits and wants here. So I think it's also just like such a team dynamic of leadership here, which is almost like so much better to have it that way so that you're not relying on one or two people. You can kind of
Yes.
trust that everyone knows what they're doing and is able to keep each other accountable, which I
Yeah.
think is fantastic. So it's really fun learning that part about myself, especially this year, because I never had to truly think about that
Yeah.
until this time.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
No, that's amazing because it's you also I don't even know where I was reading this as I was kind of just skimming through these articles and stuff. Like somebody described you as just like having a motor. Like you just have this motor that just goes, and also I also in this process saw so weren't you engineering when we came into college? Which is, it's funny because that was also something that you were balancing, which was like your school was so hard. It was so,
Woohoo! We've moved on from that.
and that's what I noticed that is, but I think still it's just also still telling to who you are, and like you knew that it was going to be something hard and you pursued it anyway, and you like your brain just works that way, and I've always loved that because I love picking your brain, and that's why, oh my gosh, this podcast is so perfect. But yeah, and so now you moved on. Actually, do you want to just go in really quick? What are you studying now?
Yeah, I'm just doing communication arts. I've kind of figured out that I'm pretty good at volleyball. So I'm going I'm going the route of like I want to play professionally. I want to play overseas.
Yeah.
I want to go to the Olympics. I want to do that whole route, play as long as I can, and then end up coaching, college,
Mm.
club, something in that realm. Because I don't see myself not doing
Yeah.
volleyball. That
No,
makes sense. Like I'm like, there's no way I could be at like a desk job and do
yeah,
that.
I'm gonna like I don't even know what engineers do at this still. To this day have no clue. Like I have a roommate, like one of my other good friends.
I didn't get that far.
Yeah, yeah, you're it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. We can't be good at everything.
No,
If
no.
you were like this the national player of the year and an engineer, like I don't think my mind wouldn't be able to handle that. I'm like, God literally has favorites.
No.
Like
It's one or the other. It's one or the other. I just woo, good now.
no,
We figured it out.
you're gonna be an amazing coach. When that time comes around, I think you're gonna be able to just pull something out of your girls, whatever level that's at, and you're gonna kill it. As after post your amazing career that you're gonna have to yeah. So I'm gonna since we have I keep getting this, I don't have Zoom Pro. So I'm gonna end this one right here, and
Perfect.
then I'm gonna send you another link, and then we're going to basically talk about the last two things, and then we can.
Perfect.
So I'm gonna here. Let me pause.
Show.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about leadership. We talked about your time at Michigan State, and it's actually so crazy because I don't know where I heard this about, but so was this last year that you had this crazy health thing that
Summer. Yep.
okay, summer, and your team was about to go on their foreign tour, and I can speak to how much like we went to Brazil as a team, and it was an amazing experience, but I can only imagine that literally like days before you guys are about to go on to your guys' foreign trip, you find out about this health issue that you didn't even know existed. So if you just give a brief rundown of what that was like, but then also talk about dang, yeah, those feelings leading up to that foreign trip.
Yeah, it's a very interesting summer. I would kind of equate it to what COVID was. It just felt like something that wasn't real, I would say. But we were leading up to our Europe trip, so we practiced for 13 days. So we got back on Monday and we were there for about 2 weeks before we like left, like officially left. And so we started practice on, Monday, and then Monday goes, Tuesday goes, and we're all like, okay, it's kind of like preseason, but we're
Mhm.
like excited because we're about to go to Europe. And Wednesday hits and we're doing a punishment because it happens.
Yeah,
And we're in we're in it kind of like for hours. So we're doing planks, we're doing, we're doing movement, we're doing shoulder touches. And I start to feel my hands, like my hitting hand, start to go white. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. They're right next to each other. So I'm like, this doesn't look right. And it was starting to hurt like right at the wrist. So I chopped it up to, when I broke my hands back freshman year, I was like, oh, it's probably fine. So we get through that, we had to lift, and we're doing more stuff with the hands, and we're doing hanging things, and my entire hand, like all the way up to like my almost elbow, is like white, completely white. And I'm like, what is this? And so Wednesday goes, I talk to Walker, we're trying to figure out what it is, Thursday, still trying to figure out, and I'm starting to hit more. The more I'm hitting, the more my hand hurts. I'm trying to hit the ball and my hand's white, and it's just like aching. Like, when your hand's really cold and you like slap something?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like every time I was hitting a volleyball. So I was like, this sucks. Like, what is this? And so Walker's our trainer is trying to, needle and do all this stuff and test out my mobility and all that. And it's not working out. So she's like, let's leave for the weekend, come back on Monday. So Thursday, Friday, and I'm like, it's not feeling right. Like, I'm having issues even just like holding my phone. And I'm like, this is not good. And so Monday comes around, and I think it was a holiday, so we couldn't do anything on that day. So Tuesday, in the morning, I get a CT scan on my arm, and in my forearm all the way through, there's 3 blood clots. And there's a lot of things that can happen. And this was Tuesday, so we were supposed to leave on Thursday for Europe. So this was 2 days before, and Walker comes and calls me and says, hey, can you come up to the field house? And I'm like, okay, like, just not good when your trainer says, hey, can you come up? She grabs me and sits me down.
Oh,
like,
nice. The sitting you down, taking you into the office.
Woo, that's not a good sign. So she says, hey, we have some blood clots in your forearm, and we don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
It could be anywhere in your body. And it's 2 days before a 10-hour flight, and blood clots in a flight, that can also equal not good at all. So I was admitted by 3 o'clock that day, and she had told me at 11 a.m. that day. So I was admitted at 3. I kind of called the team to my apartment right in here and said, hey, this is kind of what's going on. At this point, we didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So there was a possibility of not playing volleyball. There's a possibility of being back for season. We don't know.
There's so many unknowns. Yeah.
So many unknowns. And so I told all the girls, and I was like, I'm, not going on the trip anymore, which is like, after building this trip up for like over a year, when I was getting recruited here, it's like, okay, Europe trip, we didn't happen because of COVID at Michigan State. We're supposed to go freshman year, I believe. And I was I could not like hold myself together. So I get admitted to the hospital, and I'm there for a day. We have surgery Thursday morning. And during the surgery, you have to do an angiogram, which takes the catheter up and through and into your arm, and kind of looks at what the arteries look like and if they're clotted or not. So I had to be awake for the first 45 minutes, I would say. So they put it through, and I'm on the table, like this, and they're like, can you put your arm above and back? Because they're trying to figure out if it's thoracic outlet, which would be my first rib is pinching on the artery that goes to my arm, or quadrilateral space syndrome, which is what I had, which is a little artery that goes around the arm like this way. And there's 4 muscles that surround it. So every time I would hit, they would pinch. So I guess from the 2 days of playing, 3 days, whatever, they were pinching on that artery so much that it formed a clot. And then that clot was there. And then when we were doing the planks and all that stuff, that's when it shot down, because that was that Wednesday that I started having symptoms in my hand. Because I didn't know, like, we don't know how long that was there for. So that happened. So they told me on the table, it's quadrilateral space syndrome, which I knew was going to be the best case scenario. I could possibly be back for season. I could play volleyball, because thoracic outlet, if your arteries pinch too much, it is what it is. And you have to medically retire, because if you do too much, you could form more clots. So I was insanely grateful for that. Like, that was like a weight lifted off my shoulder. I was like, okay, I have a chance to be back for season. Which was, and I'm healthy. Like, I can get past this. This is something that I know is not going to be a long-term thing. And, I get out of surgery, I think it was like 6 or 7 hours of surgery.
Wow.
To be so detailed and cut and tie off that artery. So that artery doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's not. So my body just like made a new one.
Like, I guess, like whatever happens in there.
I don't know. So that was, and mind you, this happened within 3 days.
Yeah, that's
like within
crazy.
3 days, from Tuesday until Thursday, or the Tuesday until Thursday when I got out of surgery is when this all happened.
Yeah.
So I don't think I even fully processed what was happening to me, because I got discharged Friday, and I was finally Britt had stayed back with me for the possibility that I could, maybe make it on the trip.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful for that. My mom had come up and, all of this, but I was just so overwhelmed that I didn't know what to think at that point, because I'd worked all of this time to play volleyball for a very long time. And right now we don't know.
Yeah.
And so I was so distraught and didn't know what to think and didn't know what to do. And I was really struggling through that. And once I got home and to the apartment and settled, I had a lot of talks with my mom. We did a lot of praying, because that was something that helped me kind of understand that it is something bigger than me. Like, if volleyball isn't the rest of my life, that's okay. And it's hard. Yes, it's hard, but it's okay that it's not gonna be, forever.
Yeah.
And that was really comforting to have my mom there
That's
and do
amazing.
a lot of that and kind of look to the bigger picture of things. But it was definitely not a fun time. I would not want to do it again. But I think that had also helped and developed me and allowed me to do a lot of things that allowed me to be what I was, last season.
Yeah.
So definitely pros and cons, but I think everything happens for a reason. And that was how that was supposed to happen, and develop through that. And I ended up making it back and only missed 3 days of preseason, which was July or June 2nd was when I had the surgery. So June and July, and then I was back by August 7th, I think, or August 9th. I was back and ready to go. So it was just like a crazy whirlwind of, everything.
Seriously. It's also like when you were telling me about the just kind of that process, and we briefly talked about it yesterday, but it was like there was a point where it was like, so we don't know what it is, and it can either be this thing that's actually a lot more common that could potentially end your career, or this thing that's more rare, but you could be back, playing at the beginning of the season. And I think that just it even being the more rare kind of, like, I don't even know how rare that syndrome is, or
I think I looked up the statistics, and I think it's like 0.8 or 0.08% of like overhead athletes that have like this motion or this motion, and it's like 0.8% of all the people that do that.
And that's correct. That it's amazing to just to see, like, and the fact that you and you're like your mom got to be there with you and just got to pray with you. And the walk that I've been on, I genuinely believe that God's plan for you is just you. Yes, God has an amazing plan for you, and it's playing out right before your eyes. But also, like we said, it's not like you haven't had to work for it. I keep going back to that because I really want to emphasize to anybody that watches this podcast, or anybody that hears you talking about your journey, like, that's the part, is that you, as much as you love volleyball and as much as it's the sport, it's also like you work for all the things that you've gotten. So that's amazing, and that makes you unique to other people. So I'm just excited in this next year, and then these next few years of your career, and however long you continue to play volleyball, they're gonna be great. It's gonna be really fun. People like to watch you play. But this is kind of a big general question. So we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but how your life has just changed in the last, and I would say over your college career, but then also from high school, and maybe like how all these things you could have imagined for your life, and where you are right now in this moment as we're sitting in this podcast. Like, it's kind of probably hard to put your finger on what has exactly changed, but what are some of the the biggest changes that you feel like you've just seen happen in your life, and whether that's how people interact with you, or whether that's yeah, I don't even know. It's a super vague question, but wherever you take it.
Yeah, there's a lot of different levels of it, I think.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
from high school perspective, the people that knew me in high school and kind of knew that I was going to, Michigan State, it's like, oh, some people were going to colleges, and I was probably one of the bigger athletes out of my
yeah,
high school. And, having them kind of have a different perspective of like me and like where I was at that time. They're
yeah,
like, that's crazy to me. You've always been at work, but I never knew how much you really like wanted something like that.
yes,
So it's,
yeah,
it's kind of cool from that perspective. And then leading into Michigan State and all those friends, it's kind of the same thing. And then leading into Wisconsin, it's like everyone here is just such a high level pursued person that just
mhm,
like makes like everyone that's here, it's like, oh, that makes sense, that
yeah,
makes sense. And being kind of around it, even on campus now, I walk through campus, people recognize me.
yeah.
People see me and say, I went to the bookstore today, and one of the ladies there that were working were like, oh, you guys play a sport? And we're like, oh, volleyball. And she's like, what's your name? I'm like, Sarah. She's like, Franklin. It's the craziest thing. And high school me, middle school me, could have never imagined something like this coming out of all of that. And
Yeah,
I'm extremely grateful for all that, and being a part of Wisconsin volleyball has allowed that to happen, because the people that watch are so invested, and
yeah,
probably the nicest, amazing people that you could ever interact with when you are, out at dinner or out at,
mhm,
anywhere. It's really cool to kind of see that developed and continue on that journey of where, I could go playing
yeah,
pro, playing in the US, playing national team, like all of that stuff
yeah.
is just insane to me, because I never, I looked up to girls that played volleyball, but there wasn't someone I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to meet. So it's a little bit weird for me, but I
Yeah,
think it's
you're not at all that type of person, which is it's very funny to see. You're more, yeah, more private, and typically not like very showy, and
yeah. And so it's just insane to me. It's allowed me to kind of reflect on what, I want to be perceived as, because
yeah,
there's a lot of different ways on social media that you can do that. And I've kind of tried to really stay authentic in that area, because I
yes.
know some people are a little bit different there, which is
Mhm.
great, and that's what they want. But I've kind of tried to really put out stuff that I'm like, this shows my personality.
This is
This shows kind of
you.
who I am, and all of that stuff, which is kind of cool to say that I can do stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think that that's also one of the biggest reasons when Elijah was like, yeah, you should have your friend that's like good at volleyball come on the podcast. And I was like, you know what? That's a great point, because you've also, you talk about social media, and you talk about like literally the sport of volleyball, college volleyball growing, and all of the records that are being broken in terms of like viewership and support from the community, and from the world, I guess, too, on a level. And it's like, yeah, social media is a big part of that, because you literally have people that are following you and keeping up with your life, and then when they meet you, they are meeting you based off of, how they see you play volleyball on TV, and how they, see you play volleyball at your guys's like at your home games, and all these different things. And then it's crazy, because you're right, they develop this perception of you. And so that was why I was like, what, that's an amazing idea to have you on this podcast, because I want people to know that you are literally not just this amazing volleyball player, but also this great person. And that I've gotten literally that we got to be close. And like, okay, I was looking through my memories yesterday, as I was telling you, just trying to like, I was trying to jog my memory of COVID times. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
huh, what
Oh
did
yeah.
we do to entertain ourselves? And you have no idea what video I came across. This was one night we were all on top of the parking garage, next to our apartments, and we're like, let's make a dance routine.
I
Literally.
I have not thought about that. I don't think I've thought about that since I've been back. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And
What was the song?
the
What was
song
it?
was Beautiful by Miguel and Mariah Carey. So I just like, and this isn't, guys, this is not just like, oh, a couple of the girls on the team were like, let's make it.
Mm.
No, this was our literal entire team. Like, and this memory came across and I didn't find the video, but I'm gonna find it though, and I'm gonna send it to all of you
I know I have it. I
and
know I have
make you
it for
guys
you.
like, wow, relive those memories. But I say all that to say that we really are more than just volleyball players, and I want people to know you as that as well. So that was a big reason of having you on this podcast. And I hope that as we kind of close this out, that if anybody gathered anything from this, they just get to see a little bit more of your personality and who you really are. And that, like I was saying, that it's not like too like you as a volleyball player and you as a person, yeah, they're two separate things, but also your personality and who you are is like what makes you special on the court. Like you're not being anybody that you're not. You're literally showing up and grinding as yourself, and I think that that's the most amazing part about it. Yeah, so I had to bring that video up.
Oh gosh, that's a deep, deep memory. We fully
Deep.
choreographed it and started in a circle and went around. Everyone made their own dance move. So everyone's dance move is in there. Every single dance move is somebody making that up.
I'm gonna
Woo!
cry. Ooh, great times, great times. But okay, so like I said, as we close this up, let's see, thoughts on this upcoming season, like what you want out of this upcoming season, not only for yourself but for your team as well, obviously. And then we'll close out with one word of advice just for anybody that could be watching this, at any age, at any point, just a piece of advice that you'd give to anybody.
Yeah, look into this season. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited
It's
for you too.
only March and I'm like, okay, when's August? When can we really get into the good
Oh
stuff?
yeah.
We got 6 freshmen coming in that are all just great.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to get them in this summer to kind of
Yes.
work, feel them out, get everyone kind of acclimated to each other. And then looking towards season, I'm excited to just ball out
Oh yeah.
for the last year and have
That
everyone,
too.
because there's a big group of us that'll be sending off this season. And I want to go out with a massive bang. I
Yes.
want everyone to just be fully gung ho and moseying on through. And I think there's a lot of things that we've developed in the spring and continuing forward. There's a lot of things that we're looking to do. And I'm just excited. I'm ready to get back to it, even though we just ended. I'm like,
Yeah.
get me going here.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of good things to look forward to. I just can't wait to get back on the court with those girls in that Wisconsin jersey and get to
Yeah.
experience that for one more year.
Yeah. And so before we actually get into advice for other people, I have, as I feel like as just like you were saying, like you got to see me in my leadership position and you can only imagine like when I got to Hawaii, it was kind of like one of the first things the coaches said to me, they were at the end of my first spring, they're like, wow, we love how you just came in and you didn't, it's like you have been part of the team and part of the culture. And that's kind of who I am, just trying to be myself as much as I can be. And so we were this past year, a team of a lot of senior leadership. There was a big class of us, and for a while it was like trying to figure out our roles and what that looked like for our team specifically. But you guys have something really special in you as a leader, but then also in just like you were talking about the girls that are coming back and have that just. They know what it's like to almost be there, to almost get to those things that you want. And so every single day that you guys freaking step on that court during the season and before that, and then the freshmen when they come in, like everybody is gonna know what you guys are doing it for. And I know that you're gonna lead them really well. And I just encourage you to continue to embrace it all because there's really nothing like college volleyball and there's nothing like this environment that you're going to be in your last year, and you're part of a great community who supports you guys and loves you guys. And that's also what I got to get here at Hawaii is people who just love the sport of volleyball. They love investing into their athletes, and I think that you are, like I said, you guys have something really special over there in Wisconsin. And so in your last year, yes, you are going to be focused on winning. You're going to be focused on working really hard and being the best that you can be And this is so corny and cliche to say, but don't forget to stop and smell the roses. Like all those little stupid team moments that are just like you guys get to share together, and
Oh yeah.
that it's a journey that you guys get to be on. Like really, really take that all in, because your senior year is going to be something really special. I'm super excited to watch how you carry yourself through it, because I know it's going to be amazing. But yeah, that's if I had to give one piece of, like, older, I'm done now, so
Oh yeah.
that's my advice that I would give to you, is it's gonna be a grind, but it's an amazing one and it's a special one. So just take that all in. But yeah, any advice that you would like to give, or anything else you'd like to leave with anybody watching?
Yeah, one thing that's really stuck with me just throughout my entire career has just been to kind of outwork. There's nothing that I can't accomplish if I don't put my mind to it.
Man.
There's a lot of things that people will say and be like, "Oh, you can't do that." Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
watch me.
Yeah, no, literally.
Like
Okay.
I've always had that mentality, and I think that's just a great one. And taking every little minute piece of information that the coaches give you is like,
Mhm.
okay, you're giving me information. That's changing this, doing this, doing this. And I think just taking that and using it outside of practice, outside of everything, and developing every aspect that you can, and really, really pushing that, because I just love learning. I love seeing the progress. I love seeing all that. So just putting your head down and working. Doesn't matter what anyone else says, what you can and can't do. You got what you got, and you will surprise
Yes.
yourself every single step of the way
Mhm.
with what you can accomplish. So I would say
And
that's my little tidbit. Just work hard. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it one way or the other. So you might as well do it the best you can.
and that's amazing advice. I feel like that was how my career kind of, and the reason that people keep asking, like, the most common question I get now, like, since I've been done, is kind of like, oh, like, how's it been, like, what have you been up to? And I think or how have I been handling that? Yeah, I think I'm done playing volleyball, but I'm still really excited to be a part of it, and like coaching and also playing for fun. Like, what, there's so many opportunities to just go
Oh
play.
yeah.
But one of the things that I can tell people is, like, when I look back on my career, I can be, like, satisfied with how it finished, because I know that the last time I stepped foot on the court, whether that was practice or our last game, like, I worked as hard as I could possibly work. So I think that your advice is so great for anybody who's either at the beginning of their career, the end, the middle, wherever you are. That just take that advice of, you got what you got, and just work with it, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't. So yeah, I just want to thank you, Sarah. Thank you. I shouldn't even call
Thank
you
you,
Sarah.
T.
What the heck? Thank you, Frank, for coming on here. And I'm so excited for this episode to release, because there's so many gems that you just dropped. So I just also want to thank everybody for watching and for encouraging me through this journey that I've been on with this podcast, because I've just been kind of winging it, and then it works out how it works out. So thank you all for your continued support, and I'm so excited to release this episode. But yeah, I love you guys. God loves you more, and I will see you next week. Yay!
Joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I got peace like a river, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got peace like a river, I've got joy like a fountain, I've got love like an ocean in my soul. Choo! Choo!